Hey guys, what's going on? Tyrauku here. Hope everyone's doing great. So a few weeks ago, I did a video on the YouTube channel, and I typically push Platinum Arena each week on stream a few hours before Platinum Reset happens. I do start the stream up, but last week during the 2x Void event, I did end up pulling our Suga Warcaller. I ended up building her out specifically for my arena defense team. She's in stalwart gear, looking pretty decent. She could be a little bit faster, maybe a little bit less accuracy, more speed, but overall she seemed to perform pretty decently. So this week, my defense consisted of Ursuga, Sify, Duchess, and Mortu Macabre. So I put Mortu Macabre in Swift Parry gear. The idea behind this was that everybody else on my team should be able to survive pretty well. Mortu is there specifically to proc his peril ability. If the peril ability goes off and it actually activates and he one-shots the enemy, then typically when you're pushing in Plat, you're just going to back out of the match. So it allows for fairly easy win conditions if his ability does proc. And with Swift Parry on him anyways, my idea was that it would activate and then he'd have a higher chance of proccing the peril ability. So that's what Mortu's looking like. Fairly high HP. Since we have Ursuga as the lead, she does bring that extra 30% HP aura, so his damage is scaled a little bit higher. And he's mostly one-shotting people from what I've seen, at least testing my defense team on offense and running it in auto to kind of replicate a similar experience. Now my Duchess, this is what she's looking like as far as gear. She's in 2 immortal sets. This is what she's looking like. She could maybe be a little bit faster, but overall I'm happy with her gear. I would like to push this resistance up probably closer to about 500 or so, but where it's at right now, definitely not bad. I am going to try to gear her again for the next week, most likely, but this is the team I use this one. And Sify was my speed booster for my offense team, and I went ahead and converted her over to defense as well, and she seemed to do fairly decent. So that is the defense I use. Let me go ahead and break down these champions. Also, guys, if you enjoy these Platinum recap videos, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. It helps this video get pushed out to more people, and it's very much appreciated. And for the offense team, it's kind of surprising. I use Seer as my nuker. My Seer is in Savage gear. Her accuracy is decent, definitely not anything crazy. So I had to be careful against going against resistance teams. That's teams that have a player power. Typically, player powers above 300,000, 350,000. I kind of hold back on attacking because I'm a little bit nervous. They could have a lot of resistance and it could mess up my Seer. In that cases, I do bring Madame because basically Madame will strip their team, and then the buffs on my team, Seer will remove those and then deal damage to the enemy. So in that case, I do bring Madame. It's less damage though. Typically, my team is Seer, Lydia, Arbiter, and Sify. So Sify being my main speed booster with the speed buff, Arbiter being my turn meter booster, and then Lydia bringing the decreased defense, weaken, increased speed, which is just a duplicate buff anyways, and then the strengthen. So I'm trying to get a good variety of buffs, and she has a shield set. So my Seer has quite a few buffs to remove whenever it comes to actually doing damage. Now, this is what Lydia's stats are looking like. She's kind of a similar situation as Seer as far as their accuracy goes. Like I said, if it's a team that's higher player power, I typically just swap in Madame. But you'll see in this week's Platinum push, I didn't end up using Madame really at all because I was worried that a lot of these teams, that if I didn't have enough accuracy to land my buff from Lydia, that I wouldn't have enough damage to kill them in one shot from my Seer. So I was a little worried about that. I was a little hesitant in a lot of these fights, but we'll go ahead and jump into the video to do a kind of a recap overview. We're in the last 13 minutes. You can see it down right there. 13 minutes and 39 seconds of Plat. Now, there's one thing I learned that I'm definitely going to have to implement for next week. And if you're somebody who pushes Plat, keep this in mind as well. Like you'll see here, I use Madame, 358,000 player power. I guess I was like, no, I'm not going to do that. You see down here at the bottom, I'm seeing some fairly high ranked players. 4275 is where I'm at, and they're like 4381 with Manable. But one thing I didn't notice, and it's going to be a huge factor for next week, is that I knew this, but I really never paid attention to it. These people down here, you get far less points. I need to start paying attention to the points more than the teams necessarily. I need to start looking at the points, what I'm actually going to get if I beat these teams. Because what happens is I pick the teams that are at the lower end of things, especially if I drop out of Plat into Gold 4, like during the reset time, the teams that I'm fighting are worth far less than if I just scroll to the very bottom of the page and attack. Now, that wouldn't be a big deal if the teams, like if you weren't getting attacked so frequently when pushing for Platinum Arena, but you literally get attacked multiple times every few seconds. So if I'm gaining 9 points, but losing 9 points each time I'm being attacked, that's a net loss, and that's not good for the overall Plat push. And then if you get into matches that take a long time, which was kind of a theme of this week, then it's even a worse situation. So teams like this, not a big deal for my Seer. Like Lydia doesn't place anything, so I didn't use the A2 ability because of the counterattack. So I just didn't even worry about that. Went ahead and used her A1 because if I used the A2, she wouldn't apply anything anyways because there's buffs up, but then they would all counterattack, making it take even longer. So we do have Lydia. She blocks a Tormund's res, which is kind of unfortunate because Sify will probably go for the res here, I believe, and it makes the fight a little bit more annoying than what it really should have been. Or yeah, so teams like this, there's several times throughout the push that I did where Lydia was incredible, but my Seer, my nuke champion, wasn't quite hard enough, hitting quite hard enough to actually just one-shot the team. And Seer is an amazing champion, and I definitely think she's worth using in all of Arena. But if you're going to use her in these higher levels, you need to make sure you have enough to actually one-shot the enemy team, because where a lot of champions like your Trunda, like your Ray, Skullcrown, my most used arena nuker, champions like that, they have other options, okay? So I dropped out of Plat right there, went into gold, but those other champions, okay, so I want to see where I was at right now. So 523, let's see where my points were at when I get out of here. So I drop out, and let's pay attention. So I refresh, let's see, plus 9 points I would have got, plus 10 points, but I dropped out of Plat into gold 4, and I was thinking, okay, well, I'm going to get easier teams here. So let's see if, okay, so these people they're still plus 10. I need to watch that, though, because they could have dropped. But like I was saying with Seer, is once you attack with Seer, you don't really have any extra options until her Karma Burn, her A3 ability, comes off a cooldown. Because her A1, it hits fairly hard. Like she can do a decent amount of damage, but it's a single target hit. So it's nothing incredible. Her A2 is just a debuff. So she has really nothing. And if your team is a team like mine, you really just blow everything with Seer's nuke, and then you have to wait for it to come back around. And if you don't kill everybody, or at least kill their res champions, then it's kind of a messed up situation. So here, ended up working out perfectly fine. Also, this is kind of susceptible to, and kind of weak to things like Swift Parry, because obviously if they proc Swift Parry, then Skull Crown or Seer has to deal with that. Granted, my Sify can sleep them, which does definitely help. So we scroll through here, you can see towards the bottom, we're still getting plus 10. Plus 10 is a good point to have. Plus 10, perfectly fine, good amount of points to gain. And this Brago, I remember this Brago was a beefy boy for sure. Like, I was very, no, actually take that back. It wasn't him. There was one Brago in my push where it was a very, very sturdy Brago. Like he lasted through a lot. So we're back up into Plat now. Still seeing plus 10s. Let me fast forward a little bit because these are not just, these matches I think go fairly quick. Hopefully. See Swift Parry procs. Don't like those. Teams with double res. If I don't kill one of the reses, then what happens is they'll bait it out with one of them, and then the other champion will go ahead and get the res from everybody. Luckily, we did land a block cooldowns from there, and Sify's fine. So Lydia will block all these reses, and it'll be an easy match. Lydia does help out a whole lot. So this situation right here is basically if Seer can do enough damage to kill Duchess. If not, Sify sleep just has to land at the perfect time to keep the Duchess asleep so that we can cycle back through things. Because if that Duchess reses everybody, see right here, see Lydia woke up the Duchess, and it was kind of a bad situation. Luckily, either her res was off cooldown or Lydia blocked it. I don't think Lydia blocked it. Whatever the case was, it ended up working out perfectly fine, but it is a little bit of a worrisome case if Seer doesn't one-shot everything. So we'll go ahead and fast forward this a little bit more to go ahead and get this sped up. Swift Parry Duchess is so annoying. And I was getting so nervous. Every time she took a turn, I was thinking, oh no, this is going to be the turn where she reses everybody. I'm still in Plat, 4306. And so far, everything's going good. We're in the last 8 minutes, 4306. I don't know what the bottom of Plat is. I may check in a little while. I think I end up checking here soon. This might be the Brago who took a lot of damage. It was perfectly fine. Nope, that one was... See, these quick matches, those are perfect. If the matches consistently stay that fast, not a problem. So that match right there, you might wonder why I backed out of that so quickly. Lysandra and Warlord, Arbiter and Warlord, Sify with a Warlord. Any team with a speed booster and a Warlord is typically going to be a super fast champion into a pretty fast Warlord, and Warlord just locks you out of your cooldowns and is an absolute pain to go against, because if you're only using your A1 abilities, you're not really doing much at all. So he's a champion who's very, very good, very, very annoying. Maybe I could have beat that team if it was earlier on in the day. Maybe I would have tried, but these are only plus 9 points, so they're not anything crazy for me anyways. So we end up taking this match. We may start getting into some of these longer matches like I mentioned. Yes, I think I keep saying I think these champions are going to be super tanky, but I'm pretty sure this Gurgo was pretty annoying for me. I think he was. We'll see how he was and how it ends up playing out. But I had a hard time removing that stuff from him. Couldn't get it taken off. And Gurgo's a pain a lot of times anyways. Sify does help because Sify has a chance to remove freezes for my champions. But still, say just single one-shotting. So with another champion, like if I had a Foley, if I had a Skull Crown, if I had anything like that, this wouldn't be a big problem, okay? Because I could continually attack, continually just keep going, going, going. Perfectly fine. So he wasn't actually take that long. 38 seconds, perfectly fine. But with Skull Crown, or with Seer, it's more of just a A1, A1, A1. Very slow burn. This team, yeah, there's no way I took that because 2 Siffys is super annoying as it is. This team, super tanky. Looks like a few minute team if I didn't one-shot them. So I was like, no. 351. I would need to get Madame in here for this one probably. I would have, yeah, I'm like debating. So right now, 7 minutes out, 43-34. You'll see these teams are giving me +10, +10, all the way down +10. But it does become an issue where I take a team that does not give me +10, I think. We'll see what happens later on. So we'll fast forward a little bit. Ended up picking out this team. I'm not really sure what made me pick this team because maybe they had low player power, but an Arbiter and a Sify, assuming, let's see who is leader here. Yeah. So this was a bad pick anyways. I think what happened here is I saw that the Valkyrie was in the team and they had 307,000 player power. So I assumed that the team was probably going to be fairly resistance heavy. However, they may have been resistance heavy, but they were also pretty fast. My Sify's not super fast, so this was a bad match for me to take anyways. I don't think I buffed up at all. I think their Sify just went first. Yeah, so their Sify just went first. It was a terrible match. There's no reason at all I should have taken that. So that's the first massive mistake that I made. Luckily, I do back up pretty quick. I lose a decent amount of points. Still in Plat, though, so I'm high enough up in Plat where losing those points wasn't a huge deal. Similar thing here. This is a little different though. They have no speed booster. Maybe I could have taken that one. So I'm in 98th position right now. Notice this, okay? So this is where things start to take a turn for the worst. I'm in 98th position right now. Pretty good. 6 minutes out. That's not bad at all. So when you're 6 minutes out, at this point, closer to like the 5-minute mark, you start getting hit a lot, okay? So 98 was a pretty good spot. I'm gonna get targeted a lot. I'm gonna get hit a lot. But honestly, if as long as I took matches that were less than a minute, I'd be perfectly fine. So here I checked my battle log, my defense, and my defense actually was doing very well, to be honest. Like I had won, 3 matches just then within the recent time. So that boosted my ranking up a little bit. But then I got that defeat right there at the end. Not a big deal. A defense like that, I think at the end I ended up coming out like with 12 out of 45, I think it was. I think I did the math. It was like 34% win rate, which is not great, but it's also not terrible. Now that team right there, that a defense, I questioned it, but I was like, nah, I think I know that player. I don't think I want to hit that team. Now this one, I think, is where things start to go bad. All right, so I saw this is where a little. This didn't really. I think this affected actually quite a bit. So I wasn't for sure if this was actually that player or not. Creamy. I know he typically has a pretty good defense. The player power on it seemed a little bit low for what I thought to expect. But either way, I ended up not taking it. So here, if I can actually get it correct, I see Besmir's team, which is another streamer. We get +10, so picking that team wasn't bad. Now, when I saw this team, I kind of figured it's going to be tanky, but with the team I'm running, a tanky team is not that big of a deal, especially if my Lydia lands her stuff. His player power wasn't like abnormally crazy high, so I assumed if anybody had resistance, I probably wouldn't get resisted a ton. Maybe I would a little bit, but overall, I should be able to remove everything. I should be able to nuke them down, should be able to use Lydia, should be perfectly fine. In this case, looking back on it, it may have been better to take my Arbiter out and put Archmage Helmet in because I actually used him a decent amount in Plat Push. I used Archmage for the increased crit rate and increased crit damage buffs, and he has a speed aura. So we lose a little bit of speed, but he would have made me do a little bit more damage with my Seer, which may have made this match go quicker. So this match ends up taking significantly longer than it should have. As you remember, I was 98th position before going into this match. And this was the last 6 minutes, okay? So that first hit from Seer, that was actually a pretty good hit. So we killed the Lydia, perfectly fine. We took a big chunk out of Rector Drath, took a big chunk out of Candrophon, and Duchess didn't really get hit that hard because she didn't get any of my debuffs from my Lydia. So that's what making me think I want to build my Duchess to be a little bit higher resistance so that teams like this would have a harder time going against me. But we had a decent hit. If we had Archmage, we may have been better off because Archmage would have brought those extra buffs, which would have let my Seer hit a little bit harder. Granted, the Swift Parry procs really mess things up. Swift Parry is an annoying set to go against, but that is what it is. Only person would have really mattered staying alive is Rector Draft because she can res. We have Lydia to block res from Duchess, so that would have been fine. She tried for the res there, and see, so they baited the res out, they got it out, and then this happened. So we're at 30 seconds, the team's fully back up. At this point, it probably would have been best for me to go ahead and back out because 30 seconds and the team fully resed. If I wasn't using Seer, I could have cycled back through no problem. But since I'm using Seer, it takes so long to cycle back through, and you have to line her cooldown up with your other team's cooldown, because if you go in and use her Karma Burn when you have no abilities, no buffs up, then it's just bad news. Not a good situation. However, I did end up changing one of Seer's masteries after all this, and I got the Cycle of Violence, I think it is, the one that reduces a cooldown on ability whenever you deal 30% more of an enemy's HP, I believe. I didn't have that before. I don't know why I didn't, but that hopefully is going to help. So here, that was out of desperation, to be honest. I went ahead and used her Karma Burn. I didn't have very many buffs up at all, and it basically killed. It did do pretty well. So I had only on Seer, basically, and they had a few buffs up on their team. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19 buffs, whereas before we had way more than that. So we did decent, but then Duchess is still alive, and she becomes a big problem. So we fast forward through this match a little bit. You'll see this match ends up taking way longer. This Duchess survives very long. I got to be very careful with handling her because of the res that she could do. Because on Lydia's block res is probably not off cooldown at this point. I'm not for sure if it is or not. So I could see here, I guess, actually the passive. I need to start paying attention to that. I need to see if it actually shows the cooldown on that or not. But here it's just trying to play it safe with her, trying to keep the block cooldowns applied, trying to keep everything up. This match ends up taking, I think she's proc Swift Parry. Like right here is looking pretty decent. Maybe she doesn't. Okay, yeah, I guess she doesn't. Oh, she does. Surprise, surprise. She procs a Swift Parry. So once that finally comes off, I was worried that she was going to res, but she couldn't because she has block cooldowns applied anyways. So Lydia definitely clutched it here. Did very, very well. You'll see finally take her down, and then we drop down a decent amount of points, okay? So we go from 98th in Plat to now 4270 in points, whereas before we were in Plat. So if we go back 2 minutes in this video, before we started this match, where was I? That match took way too long in the last 6 minutes of arena. Honestly, I may have been better off just not even attacking anymore at all. So we were at 4312, okay? So 4312 is where my points were before going against that team. And then after going against this 2-minute match, which in normal arena is perfectly fine. You can do 2-minute matches and it's not going to cost you anything. 4312 down to 4259. So we lost a lot of points during that 2 minutes. We won that match, but that did not help out because of how many attacks we got hit on our defense log. And then here, it's just out of desperation. Like I'm trying to go super quick, and I end up getting quite a few matches in. We end up getting pushed up a decent amount. So this is the point where I realize, hey, maybe I need to pick matches that give me more points. So these matches give me +7, +8, +9, +9. Whenever you're this far behind and you have this little time left, I needed to take matches that would give me +10, +11, anything higher than that, because these matches just weren't giving me that much. They were very fast, and a win is a win, but we end up just barely missing it, I believe. So we did this, and actually went pretty quick. I think Seer removed everything there perfectly fine. And this match, I believe, may have been the last one, or very close. Let's see. So this Krisk, another match that kind of ruined me. So this Krisk ends up stalling this out way longer than he should have. Another champion who, well, I was actually kind of surprised, to be honest. He typically doesn't cause too much problems for me, but this one, the continuous heal, the lack of being able to remove those buffs, the lack of being able to place any buffs really screwed me up. So I was worried Duchess was going to revive. She ended up reviving a minute. Oh my goodness. So we're sitting at, we had a 2-3-minute match, 2.5-minute match earlier with Besmir. And then we have this match, which is going on for what feels like forever. So let me fast forward it if I can get it. I don't want to skip past it. Okay, so now we're at 42.74 out of 43.10. So we're definitely kind of far out. And these teams down here at the bottom, I can't really hit them. They're a little too high up. I see some of them. I'm like, okay, maybe I can try it, but no. So I end up refreshing, and we got 42 seconds left before Plat reset happens. So you can see down here in the corner, 42 seconds remain. So at this point, I'm trying to pick a team that's going to give me some points. And honestly, this pick would have been great, but it wouldn't have ended up even mattering, even if I did win. What happens is I pick that team right there, and it was 13 points I gained from that. But that'll put me up at like 40, it would put me still like 20 to 30 points out of Plat, even if I would have won this before the reset happened. But it was a pretty quick match, to be honest. Like the Candrafon survived, which I was kind of surprised about, to be honest, because Candrafon typically doesn't survive that long, but ended up nuking us down, became a pain, and was kind of just a difficult match in general. But Sify Sleep basically overpowered as it is, so we were able to keep him controlled very, very well, especially being able to continually lap him. But it took me a while longer than it should have. So basically, we end up coming out just getting in gold. You can't see where my points were at the end because after I come out of the match, get stuck back in gold 4. So that's how the Plat push went this last week. Basically, the obvious mistakes that I made was I need to be careful about picking teams that are too low of points compared to my points. I need to pick matches that are going to be 10, 12 even if I can, or those higher point rewards. If I pick plus 10s majority of the time, that's perfectly fine, but I need to watch out to not pick any that are plus 7 because plus 7 is just way too low. Especially considering my defense, I'll probably be losing 11 points or something like that. Depends. So I need to do that. And then I also need to, if a match is taking over 30 seconds and they res their entire team, I need to just back out, reset, go into a different match, because I could have went to a few more matches between the one with Besmir, the one with the Krisk possibly. That was a little bit iffy though. And then that other one that ended up taking a long time as well. So we had a few that took much longer than they should have. And in the last 5 minutes, you can't have a match that lasts 2 minutes, 2.5 minutes. Whenever you come out, you're going to have no time to catch back up. The window of opportunity for me, whenever I came out of that match with Besmir, was there. I definitely had a chance, but I would have had to take very, very quick matches. I couldn't have done any matches that lasted even a minute. They would have had to be 30 seconds at least. So my idea is continue to work on my defense for this coming up weekend Plat push. To work on the defense, and I may test out some new things with Seer, possibly, unless I'll probably won't be pulling no new champions this weekend. Maybe for the Ancient Shard event, I'll hopefully pull some new champions. But with Seer, I could always run Archmage Helmet with her, and I'll have to figure out something if I could get that to actually work. But if I could run a champion with her who could give her crit rate and crit damage buffs, I could probably drop her crit rate to a 70%, maybe. I'd have to figure out if that's actually worth it. But that puts her still at the same weakness where she blows everything up first, and if she doesn't kill him in that one shot, then she's kind of screwed. So I might either work on her, or I may go back to my Ray, see if I can get her speed tune my team. The biggest problem with Ray was that I could not get her speed tune. I've gotten some new gear, so I may take a second look at her, see if I can get her to that point. If I do take Ray, I don't worry about accuracy. I really do need a lot of speed though for her, and I just don't have any banners that have a great amount of speed plus attack on them. So we have +6 there. Definitely not great. So I'll see what I can do with that. Hopefully we can get something to work, but definitely going to be pushing again this coming up weekend. So I look forward to that. Hopefully this one goes better. And if you guys like seeing these videos, let me know down below. Definitely motivates me to continue to push and continue to make these recap videos. Before, I was just going to make it on if I placed, but I realized that the not placing could be just as beneficial as actually placing could be. So thank you all very much for watching. Good luck if you decide to push Plat, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.